In my recent review of Ark Nova, a shameless link to which should be appearing in the corner now, I said this. I'd love to say that I disagree, highlight a bunch of glaring flaws that everyone else missed, and tell you that anyone recommending Ark Nova is a clueless idiot. It'd certainly do wonders in attracting some attention to the channel. Well, sharpen your pitchforks, because I think this one's got some issues. In Lost Ruins of Arnak, players take on the role of explorers on an expedition to explore, research, and document the dangerous lands of Arnak. What this means in gameplay terms is that during the course of the game you will send your workers to existing locations to collect resources or have them uncover new, much more lucrative sites. You will improve your starting deck by adding gear and artifact cards and spend collected resources to overcome powerful side guardians or go up on the research track. Most of these actions will grant you some victory points and, as is often the case, the player with the most points at the end of the 5th round will be crowned the winner. If all that sounds very simple, it's because it is. Lost Ruins of Arnak is not a complicated game. It is by no means a gateway game, but if you've been around the block for a little while, played a worker placement game or two, maybe tried a deck builder as well, you will pick this up without much of an issue. It is also an easy game to teach, as the board layout is great, the actions are easy to explain, and the iconography and graphic design are both very clear and consistent, making it more accessible and letting newbies get into the game without needing to ask what something means every turn. Speaking of graphic design, my god is this game good looking. All of the side tiles evoke the sense of discovery and beautifully portray all these mysterious locations where humans have not stepped foot in centuries. The cards as well draw you into the experience of being an adventurer, featuring various tools used in exploration or mysterious artifacts you've uncovered during the journey. The art genuinely never ceases to amaze, always attracts people's attention and makes Lost Ruins of Arnak a much easier sell to new players than another beige Europe. Now, from the way I've talked about the art in the game, you may have gotten the impression that Arnak is a deeply thematic board game. However, this is where I strongly disagree with a lot of the other critics. There is a theme here. I appreciate the fact that you actually discover new sites as your expedition continues, uncovering more and more of the mysterious lands of Arnak, and delivering on that implied promise of adventure. I also like how some of the actions on the cards make thematic sense, with my favorite probably being the gun that lets you overcome guardians without much of a hassle because, well, you can just shoot them. I started blasting. And I like that some thought has been put into how the research track works, giving you 2 tokens to advance, a magnifying glass symbolizing doing the research, and a book token representing the documentation of your findings. However, I've played this game multiple times with a few different groups, and every single time the topic of theme came up, the consensus has always been that Lost Ruins of Arnak is not a thematic game. And I believe that is because any and all thematic elements are completely overshadowed by Arnak's core gameplay loop. Lost Ruins of Arnak is all about efficiency, about making your limited resources and cards last longer, finding the best action combo that will take you the furthest, and finding ways to turn 0 into 1. And it is really good at that, with gameplay elements designed around the idea of offering you the flexibility you need to execute your plan, like the fact that if you buy an artifact card, you get to activate it straight away without even wasting an action, and the benefits of those cards will, more often than not, let you stretch yourself for at least another couple of rounds. Or all the different ways to get some resources, such as cards that give you a compass or a coin if you use a free action to discard them, or the tokens you gain from exploring that, at the cost of some victory points, can get you pretty much anything you might need in a pinch. With the amount of options available to players, not only are you not done once you've placed your second worker in the round, I'd almost argue that that's when the real game begins. However, figuring all this out also obscures the theme of Arnak. When you're looking for ways to get a ruby or a compass, the theme's the last thing on your mind. You don't see placing your worker as exploring, buying a card as acquiring some gear or an artifact, or going up on the track as you're doing research. It is very much, if I go there, get that resource, then spend that to go up on the track there, buy that card to get another resource, and go up on the track again. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not trying to say that a Think Here game cannot be thematic because you're too busy doing math. Just look at Ark Nova. It has the same idea of you needing to figure out a set of actions that get you to a particular outcome, but I don't feel like the theme is ever lost when I'm playing that game. The issue in Arnak, I believe, is the lack of theme integration with gameplay. Yes, what you're doing has some thematic flair to it, but it never achieves that symbiotic relationship with the gameplay you get in truly richly thematic Euros. And look, that might not even be a real issue. There's lots of great games out there that have absolutely zero theme, and I don't think that detracts much from the experience of playing Arnak. However, when I see all the other creators praising how rich the theme is here, when that hasn't been my experience at all, I gotta call it out. What is a real issue though is the downtime caused by the gameplay loop. The first couple of rounds are pretty snappy, but as your deck improves and the number of actions and choices available starts growing, that quickly slows down, with players needing to take longer and longer to plan out the rest of the round or adjust strategies because some card or action is no longer available. And to be clear, I'm not talking about players who are already AP prone. I'd say my group is usually pretty quick at making decisions, but there's a lot you need to calculate here if you want to do well in later rounds.
I see possible futures all at once, and in so many futures, our enemies prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
I saved my biggest issue with Lost Ruins of Arnak for last though, and it's something I've been noticing more as I've been playing the game more. There seems to really only be one path to victory here. You are either on that research track, and at least in second if not first place, or you have done considerably worse than others, as the rewards and victory points you get from the research track far outweigh focusing on either the cards or the sides, and, in fact, make going after the other two easier, making them more of a tiebreaker than its own separate path to victory. This is particularly prevalent when playing on the bird side of the board, where the first couple of players seem almost guaranteed to go either for the ruby or the arrowheads, as that lets you start climbing the track nice and quick. The snake side alleviates this problem quite a bit, though doesn't get rid of it entirely, by making it much more difficult to climb that research track and, in my opinion, resulting in a more interesting, tense and competitive gaming experience. In fact, I think the last time I played on that side, I won by just a single point and it was exhilarating. Now, look, there's nothing inherently wrong with the game having a set path to victory, and in fact you could argue that since everyone must go up on the track, cards and sides are the real deciding factor in who wins in Arnak. But for me, I think it hurts the replayability of Lost Ruins of Arnak, and I have definitely noticed a pattern in my relationship with this game. I will typically get really into it, bring it to a few game nights in a row, play it on Board Game Arena too, but inevitably will cool down on it just as quick as the novelty wears off and the sameness of each gaming session sets in. Maybe it's just me, but when you tell me that there's a Euro about exploring an unknown land, somehow I imagine an experience that offers a bit more freedom of choice than Arnak does. At the end of the day, Lost Ruins of Arnak is a solid game that offers players a very smooth, streamlined gameplay experience. It is easy to get into, quick to play, and more likely than not, you will stay engaged throughout. Despite this, I think the game also has its fair share of issues, but I've already spent half the damn review talking about these, so I won't bore you by reiterating them once again. And at the end of the day, if you've heard what I had to say and none of my criticisms set alarm bells ringing, then it seems like a pretty safe bet Lost Ruins of Arnak might just be the game for you.